ago, Robert and I sign off. Okay. And we jump back on here to tell you about this breaking news story. Consider it your news flash. All right. Yeah, that doesn't make me feel dated at all. Robert, WrestleVotes. It's the Scooperoonie. When WrestleVotes drops a tweet, the wrestling world stops and reads the tweet. And this tweet is sure to rile up many a wrestling fan that says, how come they're not doing anything with insert wrestler? Why aren't they putting the title on insert this wrestler? How come they aren't following my fantasy booking about insert wrestler? So let's insert some wrestling names because there's some backstage news and discussion about underutilized, underrated talents in WWE.
Yes, so WrestleVotes just tweeted 6 minutes ago. Recently, a group of writers were asked to make a list of underutilized talent they felt could shine if given the proper opportunity. While those lists had a wide variety, nearly all of them included Cesaro, Angel Garza, Chad Gable, Carmella, and Peyton Royce. Okay. So let's want to go one by one?
There. Plenty of talented people.
You want to go one by one here? Just maybe some quick thoughts.
Peyton Royce. So Peyton Royce recently had the Iconics broken up, right? And she did seemingly have some form of a solo run starting, and then it stopped. I think she's talented. I think she's a very underrated in-ring performer. She has a lot of natural charisma, but didn't it feel a little bit too early to break up the Iconics with her and Billie Kay? They just felt like kismet in terms of just being two no good chicken shiz heels.
Yeah, so the Iconics should have never broken up, especially if their idea for the Iconics was, hey, let's just put Peyton Royce in another tag team. And even Billie Kay had a tag team match in her first match, in a while on SmackDown. I think Peyton Royce is tremendous, and she can absolutely be one of the top women's superstars in WWE. Carmella's a weird one because Carmella's getting a nice rub on SmackDown right now. She's a huge deal. She's bringing divas back. You remember like 15 years ago when everybody was bringing sexy back?
Rob, I'm going to put this tweet up here from WrestleVotes. By the way, if you're just joining us, this is kind of what's coming together here. We literally just signed off and this happened, but we didn't want to let it slide by here, so we jump right back on for you. Carmella bringing back divas because that's her character. Her character is like, I'm a throwback hottie with a body. That's why I should be in the main event, which is the idea that WWE had for a long time, and they've certainly gotten away with it with the women's evolution and amplifying the in-ring product for the women. And now she's almost a heel because she's not that, right? And then there's a lot of people that say Carmella is one of those people. She just is that, and she shouldn't be in the top, and you should hate her. But I don't know. I think you need to have heels, don't you? You need to have people that you don't like. And Carmella is somebody who has a big social media following. People really follow her. That's something that WWE pays attention to. I don't feel that she's completely underutilized. It depends on when this list kind of became public, right? Or how. And it's worth saying, this is WrestleVotes. WrestleVotes 9 times out of 10 is right. Like they get a lot of stories right. So we felt okay going on air with this. But the Carmella one is the only one I question because she was just main eventing SmackDown. That's the most watched wrestling television program on every week.
Yeah, maybe this is like a thing because if you remember, Chad Gable also very recently repackaged. So maybe this is a meeting that occurred a few months back, going into this new year. The name that excites me and should excite all of you, every last one of you that watch WWE on a weekly basis is Cesaro. Because Cesaro should have been a world champion. The dude looks like he's chiseled out of stone. He is the epitome of manliness in this promotion. And like how he's not on TV in a suit drinking coffee every week with a championship, maybe, a valet on his arm. I don't know how you're missing with Cesaro. Cesaro is gold. And again, it should excite all of you. Also, Angel Garza, another dude, been repackaged. He's given roses to a mystery woman who, if you believe the rumor and innuendo, it is Eva Marie. Great pairing,
And there's been talk of her coming back for a couple months now. We haven't seen anything with her yet.
All for it.
All for it. And I'm not bad. I don't feel. Here's the thing. I see people getting really mad about this right away, right? And the Twitter response is like, oh, they didn't do this right thing by this right person. Like, they buried this person. Here's the thing. There's only so many spots on TV. You got to be realistic about this. There's only so many roles you can have on television. Sometimes Raw feels like there's just too much going on and nothing settles in sometimes. Or there's too little going on and you think, well, why aren't they using that person? And even in minor supplementary secondary roles, I saw fans get mad. Like this week, I saw people say, why are you going with Jackson Riker when you got wrestler A, B, and C, who I think are better, right? So there's always that. You have hardcore fans that say, make me the booker and let me book my favorites.
Throw this comment on screen from Savan.
Okay. Savan, thank you so much for texting. Savan's been with us before. He says, the fact that WWE Vince has to make a list to see who's underrated is a scary thing. How do you not know who is and isn't worth putting money behind on your roster? Well, Savan, Robert, I think you have a response to this. I don't even think I have to say what you're going to say. Go ahead, Robert. Robert, do I still have Robert? Maybe Robert's not with me anymore. Robert, maybe. There you are. Robert, can you see me?
Am I dying? Yeah, okay, here we go.
There you are, bud.
Because Vince McMahon runs a multi-billion-dollar organization. I got news for you. If I was to put up a story right now, the way corporations work, like, we might not even know. We're all busy living our own lives, focusing on other things. Vince McMahon can't possibly know, hey, how good is Angel Garza? Vince is unfortunately not as in touch and in depth with his roster as he was in 1996.
And guess what? He doesn't need to be. That's why he has people who do that for him.
But it also says, hey, he's putting some value in these writers that he thinks.
Yeah, he's putting value in his writers. I don't know if Robert flipped out there again a little bit there. But he is putting value in his writers. And I do think that is the important thing to see here. And we see this comment here. Jay Feliciano, a man who knows a thing or two about the WWE. Cesaro has everyone in the locker rooms. Everyone in the locker room is on his side for a world title push. So even internally with the wrestlers, people want him back there. Let's see if Robert will pop back in here. I think my connection got knocked off with him here. Cesaro is one of those guys we already mentioned. Robert, you there? There you go, Robert. I kind of lost you there for a second, Rob. You want to reboot? You want to reboot on your end, Rob? All right, he's going to reboot here. So the thing I got to think here is you see this and everyone wants to be, see, if they have to make that list, it's bad. No, if they have to make that list, that's okay. If they have to make that list, that is not a bad thing. That's just part of the deal, guys. It's part of the deal of going through your talent and seeing who's ready, seeing who we're not using. Yeah, let's do a double back. Let's look at what we can do here. Let's look where we can utilize these other people in these roles. And it's worth noting how old is this list that just became public, because some of these people are being utilized. We mentioned Chad Gable. We mentioned Carmella. Cesaro, could he break out from the tag team scene and become a world title contender? It's something I think a lot of hardcore fans want, but that's a long ways away. You really got to get him there for a casual fan to jump on board with that as well. Robert with me once again. Going to fire him back into the conversation. As we were talking about here, Robert, it's worth noting on this list that just kind of became public. It's from WrestleVotes. We rely on them. Is there anyone on this list that you're just like, I don't know if they're ready for a push?
Not a single soul, because they're all ready for a push. I think that's why that we don't know who's on every individual list, but we know that all of these names are very much underutilized. Chad Gable should have been an Intercontinental Champion already. Angel Garza has charisma in spades. Carmella, we already know how good she is. Peyton Royce is a breakout star waiting to happen. But my God, I'll say it again, Cesaro should be a good-looking, suave, heel champion. And
they can go back to that James Bond thing they were doing with him.
They were doing that. Yeah. They had him with Heyman for a while. There's some weird lack of communication or maybe some misconnection with Cesaro, but it's about time.
It's Royal Rumble time. You want to do something crazy. This is the time of year. You want to put the rocket on someone's back. You can do it with 29 other superstars going over the rope and one guy winning.
Cesaro versus Drew McIntyre is not only a championship match in any country, it is a hard-hitting, legitimate 5-star classic in any country.
My thing is you got a lot of character work you got to do with him if you want to get him back there. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of time out of that single scene that you got to make up for because he's been a tag team wrestler, a great tag team wrestler in the eyes of many fans for several years now. Now, some time ago, yeah, there was that talk of him being the next guy, the next chosen one. But people said that about Drew, and it took a long time. He had to leave the WWE to get back to where he is now. So I don't think this is a bad story. I think this is a good story. Like I'm doing the DDP thing. This isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing.
I agree with that.
Isn't going to stop people from bitching though. Johnny Udanovich texting in Johnny U saying who is being underutilized writes down 95% of the Raw roster, 90% of the SmackDown roster. No one's ever not going to bitch, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're never going to please everybody. Even if you strap the rocket to Cesaro, it's going to be, what about Big E? If you strap the rocket to Big E, it's going to be, well, what about Chad Gable? If you strap the rocket to Gable, it's going to be, well, wait a minute here. We've got Tucker. Everybody's clamoring for Tucker. Everybody's clamoring for Tucker, I'm sure. It's like, it's just a thing. Everybody always wants to root for the underdog. But they miss the idea that the whole point of the underdog is to make it into the scene. And then, of course, they're sellouts because how dare you make it into the scene. Also, WrestleVotes, if you're out there watching Mystery Man with all the scoops, can you please give us a heads up about these stories so that we don't end our podcast and then us be inconvenienced and come back on when our internet is a bit wonky on either his side or my side? I don't know which person it was. That was me, I think.
That's okay. I've botched up the old compact. I've knocked the Comcast box that I have for my internet. I bumped into it when I'm on, and it's knocked me off. So that's on me. I get it, baby. I don't know why I called you baby, but it felt right. Here's the thing. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We did this extra little segment for you. Go ahead and hit a like button. All right, go ahead and give it a share. Go ahead and pass it on to your friends. We'll be back, and we'll continue to cover this story as it develops, and we'll continue to cover wrestling fans bitch about this story as it develops.
Yeah. And as I said before, don't bitch. Air your grievances because it's Festivus, but get that out of your system. And then sit down, crack open your favorite beverage. I don't care what it is. It could be water, it could be coffee, it could be soda, it could be beer. And just enjoy wrestling. Guys,
this is a perfect comment to sign off with. Timothy Tim, 2 times a Tim, says, I hate when someone loses and right away they're being buried. Keith Lee last night. I saw it all over Twitter. Go to AEW. They were saying, hand on face emoji. Yeah, I agree. You got to let things develop. I think fans have a less patience though, too, for they want the satisfaction of like a year-long chase to the title with 3 weeks to get there, which that isn't logical. You know what I mean? They want a stake. I want my money. It's my money, and I want it now.
Yeah,
that's what they feel about things. So things don't actually work out that way. We will be back tomorrow with a whole lot more content for you, covering Impact, covering AEW and NXT. Check it out on our YouTube channel, our podcast, and of course here on Facebook. Don't forget to give it a like. Remember, when watching wrestling, earn